At 3 a.m., my son-in-law bursts into my oceanfront villa with his friends. "Old man, this is my villa now. You have 1 hour to move out." And his friend urges him on. "Hurry up. We want to relax." I just slowly took a sip of water and smiled. "Come in." Betrayal has a price. Revenge is a plan. Justice is near. Soon they will find out what I did yesterday. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The notary slid the keys across her desk. 2 brass keys on a simple ring, catching morning light through the office window. I picked them up and my hand trembled, not from age, but from weight. 40 years of work had condensed into this metallic moment against my palm. "Congratulations, Mr. Taylor," she said. 40 years of planning paid off. I allowed myself a small smile. Every dollar earned, every sacrifice made, worth it. She handed me the deed. My name, Arnold Taylor, printed beside the property address. $890,000, paid in full. No mortgage, mine. I walked into brilliant August sunlight. The office sat 2 blocks from Cannon Beach's main strip. Salt air reached me even here. I stood on the sidewalk, clutched those keys, pulled one deep breath into my lungs. Victory tasted like ocean wind. My car waited. I slid behind the wheel, set the keys on the passenger seat. Euphoria rolled through me. 62 years old, and I'd done it. The villa overlooking the Pacific. My late wife Sarah would have loved this place, but I pushed that thought aside. This was triumph, not mourning. I pulled out my phone and dialed Jennifer. "Dad?" she answered quickly. "Jennifer, I did it. I bought the villa. The ocean view we talked about." Silence stretched. Then, "Did you sign everything already?" The question felt wrong. I frowned. "Yes, this morning. Everything's official." "What did the document say exactly?" Her voice carried an odd flatness. "Is your name the only one on the deed?" My excitement cooled. "The deed's in my name. Everything's official. I thought you'd be happy for me." Pause. When she spoke again, artificial brightness had crept in, sugary and false. "I am, Dad. Congratulations." The disconnect between words and tone planted something cold in my stomach. I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror, watched my smile fade. "Jennifer, is everything all right?" "Everything's fine. I have to go. Talk soon." The line died. I sat there 5 more minutes, phone in hand. Then I shook my head, started the engine, drove back to my apartment. The rental truck took an hour to load. 40 years of life didn't amount to much. Bedroom set, kitchen essentials, consultant certificates and frames, books, clothes. Material possessions had never mattered. The work mattered. This villa mattered. I drove south on Highway 101. When the Pacific came into full view, I pulled over. The ocean spread endlessly, whitecaps dancing like scattered pearls. Every extra shift flooded back, nights reviewing spreadsheets, weekends analyzing markets, declining invitations that cost money. This view was my dividend. I continued to Cannon Beach. The villa stood as I'd seen it before, 2 stories of weathered cedar and glass, perched with unobstructed ocean access. I parked, unlocked the door with those brass keys, stepped inside. Fresh paint smell. I walked room to room, fingers trailing walls, opening windows for salt air. Hardwood gleamed. The kitchen had granite countertops I'd never use elaborately. 6 decades of simple meals needed no change. But the deck stretched across the entire back, and from there, the Pacific filled everything. I stood at the railing, watched sunset paint the sky orange and purple. Seagulls wheeled overhead. My mind drifted to Sarah, her years of begging for something like this, my repeated, "Not yet, we need more savings." She died before those years ran out. Breast cancer. 5 years ago last March. I shook off melancholy. This villa honored her memory by existing. She'd want me enjoying it, not mourning. I unpacked essentials. Bedroom first, assembled the frame, made it with clean sheets, placed Sarah's photo on the nightstand. Not a shrine, just fact. She'd been my wife 30 years. Her absence shaped me as surely as her presence had. Kitchen next. Plates, glasses, silverware in cabinets, coffee maker on the counter, my one luxury. Tomorrow would start with caffeine and ocean views. By 10 o'clock, exhaustion settled into my bones, the earned kind. I showered, changed, lay down. The window framed dark sky and darker water. Peace settled over me. Then my phone vibrated. Jennifer's name glowed. Midnight calls weren't her pattern. I answered immediately. Dad! That artificial brightness again. Kevin wants to bring you a surprise tomorrow. A housewarming gift. He'll come by early. I sat up. What kind of surprise? It's midnight, Jennifer. Just a housewarming thing. Words came hurried, rehearsed. He'll explain when he gets there. Jennifer, is something wrong? Nothing's wrong. See you tomorrow. The line died before I could respond. I stared at the phone, then at dark ocean beyond the window. Kevin, my son-in-law of 5 years, married to Jennifer in a ceremony I'd paid for completely. Kevin, who worked in commercial real estate, always evaluating things, calculating their worth. Kevin, who'd asked too many questions about my retirement savings last Thanksgiving. I set the phone down deliberately, lay back against pillows. But my eyes stayed open, fixed on ceiling shadows, moving with unseen waves. A surprise, at dawn, delivered by Kevin. Nothing about this felt like a gift. My jaw tightened. I reached for the water glass beside Sarah's photo, took a long drink, set it down with precise care. I didn't sleep that night. I waited. I lay in darkness, watching shadows crawl across the ceiling. The clock tracked time with cruel precision. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. My phone sat silent. I picked it up twice. Considered calling Jennifer, set it down both times. Whatever was coming would arrive regardless. At 3 in the morning, pounding started. 3 sharp bangs against the front door. Violent, demanding. I jolted upright, heart hammering. More pounding followed. Rapid and aggressive. Male voices outside, loud, slurred. I swung my legs out, sat on the bed's edge. My pulse needed steadying. Another series of violent knocks shook the frame. I stood, moved through darkness toward the kitchen. The pounding continued. I didn't hurry. I walked to the sink, turned on overhead light, filled a glass with cold water. The liquid caught light, clear and steady. I raised it, drank slowly, deliberately. Cold traveled down my throat, spread through my chest, calmed the adrenaline. More banging, voices rising. I set the glass down, refilled it, carried it toward the door. My hand was steady now. I stood before the door without opening. Who's there? A male voice boomed back, thick with alcohol. Open up, old man. Time to talk. Kevin. I recognized him, even distorted by drink. Other voices murmured behind, at least 3. I took another sip, set the glass on the entry table. State your business. Kevin laughed, sharp and cruel. My business? This is my villa now. You got 1 hour to pack and leave. I stood still, absorbed those words, turned them over like coins. Then I reached for the doorknob, pulled it wide. Kevin swayed on my doorstep, flanked by 3 men. Scott Miller I recognized immediately. Kevin's college friend, property developer with too much confidence. The other 2 were strangers. All wore polo shirts and cargo shorts, dressed for a beach party involving substantial alcohol. Beer smell hung around them like cologne. Kevin's aggressive posture faltered when he saw my expression. No fear, no anger. I smiled. Small, knowing, controlled. I stepped aside, gestured inward with open palm. Come in. Kevin hesitated. His friends shifted, uncertain. This wasn't expected. I said, come in. My voice was silk over steel. You wanted to see the villa? See it. Kevin entered first, trying to reclaim swagger. Others followed. I closed the door behind them, walked past Kevin to living room windows, pulling back curtains. Moonlight flooded the space. I wanted to see them clearly. Scott made a crude comment about finally getting a decent beach house. I didn't react, just stood holding my water, watching them spread through my living room like stains. Kevin turned, planting his feet wide. Where are the property documents? You're signing them over. Jennifer said you'd cooperate. I set my glass on the coffee table with precise care. The small clink punctuated silence. Jennifer said that. Yeah. Kevin crossed his arms, trying to project authority his drunkenness undermined. So get the papers. We don't have all night. I looked at him directly. Tell me, Kevin, did Jennifer mention what I did yesterday? Kevin scoffed. What you did, you bought a house. So what? I let my smile widen fractionally. Not just that. There were other arrangements, legal ones. Scott stepped forward, emboldened by numbers. What's he talking about? I picked up my glass again, took another slow sip. You'll find out, soon enough. But since you're here, take a look around. Consider it your first and last tour. Kevin's face reddened. First and last? We're moving in next week. Jennifer already picked furniture. Are you? I kept my voice soft, almost gentle. We'll see. The ambiguity landed like a slap. Kevin glanced at Scott, who shrugged. One unnamed friend shifted nervously near the doorway. Kevin tried rallying aggression. Listen, old man, I don't know what game you think you're playing, but this villa belongs to us now. Jennifer's your only child. She inherits everything eventually. We're just speeding up the process. Speeding up, I repeated, tasting the phrase. Interesting choice of words. I walked past them toward the hallway, moved through the living room like I owned it, because I did. They followed uncertainly, bravado cracking with each step. I could feel their confusion, smell their doubt mixing with alcohol fumes. Kevin tried once more. Where are you going? You asked for documents. I stopped, looked back over my shoulder. I'm getting documents. I continued toward my study, the room I'd set up that afternoon with particular care. My desk, filing cabinet, safe. Kevin followed eagerly, thinking he'd won. Scott and others trailed behind, touching furniture as they passed, already claiming ownership, already dividing up my life like scavengers over a carcass they assumed dead. I reached the study, pushed the door open. Moonlight illuminated my desk, leather chair, the small safe in the corner. Kevin crowded behind, breathing heavily. So where are they? His patience eroding, replaced by ugly anticipation. Where are the property papers? I moved to the desk, opened the top drawer. Inside lay several file folders, organized yesterday afternoon, right after unpacking. My hands moved with deliberate calm. Let me show you something. Kevin stepped closer, practically vibrating with greed. Scott leaned from the doorway. The other two hovered in the hall. I pulled out a folder, but didn't open it yet. Instead, I looked at Kevin directly, let him see calculation in my eyes. Tell me something first. When Jennifer called you yesterday, after I told her about this place, what exactly did she say? Kevin's expression shifted. Suspicion flickered. That's none of your concern. Humor me? He laughed, harsh and dismissive. She said you'd finally done it. Bought the villa with all your precious savings. Said the timing was perfect. He leaned forward, breath sour. Said you were getting old, making poor decisions. That maybe you needed help managing your assets? There it was, the trap's shape, exposed in moonlight. I nodded slowly. I see. And you believed her. Why wouldn't I? Kevin grabbed for the folder. Now give me those papers. I moved the folder back, just out of reach. These aren't property transfer documents. Kevin froze. What? I opened the folder, turned it so he could see. Legal letterhead, official stamps, dense juridical language. These are copies of documents I signed yesterday morning, I said quietly. Not just the property deed. Other paperwork, filed with the county clerk, notarized, legally binding. Kevin stared. I watched comprehension fail to arrive. Too drunk, too entitled, too convinced of his cleverness. What paperwork? Scott demanded. I closed the folder, set it back. Let's say I've taken certain precautions against exactly this situation. What situation? Kevin's voice rose. I took a final sip. Attempted theft, coercion, elder exploitation. Each word fell separately. All documented, all protected. The room went quiet. Kevin's face cycled through emotions, confusion, anger, dawning uncertainty. You're bluffing. Am I? I smiled again. You'll find out. Now I believe you mentioned an hour for me to pack. Kevin stepped forward, fists clenched. For a moment I thought he might swing, but Scott grabbed his arm. Let's go, Scott muttered. This isn't worth it. Not worth it? Kevin jerked free, but his conviction had cracked. We came here to... To what? I interrupted. Threaten a 62-year-old man in his home at 3 a.m, in front of witnesses, while intoxicated? Kevin's mouth opened, closed. I suggest you leave. Before I make a phone call you won't like... Scott was already moving, pulling the others. Kevin stood frozen, staring with something that might have been respect or rage. This isn't over, he said finally. No, I agreed. It isn't. But it will be. Soon. They left. I listened to retreating footsteps, heard the front door slam. Car engine started, tires spat gravel, then silence returned. I stood in my study, folder still on desk, water glass empty in hand. Tomorrow, I thought. Tomorrow the real work begins. Morning light filtered through the study windows, pale and thin. The confrontation had stretched from darkness into dawn. I walked to my mahogany desk, opened the top drawer, pulled out a leather folder I'd prepared the day before. Kevin crowded closer, eager. His friends hung back near the doorway. I spread papers across the desk surface. Property deed, purchase agreement, title insurance, all bearing one name, Arnold Taylor. Kevin snatched the papers, scanning frantically. His eyes darted across each line, searching for Jennifer's name, any co-ownership clause, anything. His hands began to shake. Alcohol fog clearing into cold reality. This can't be right. His voice cracked slightly. Jennifer said you agreed. She said you'd put both our names on it. I met his eyes directly. I agreed to nothing. This villa is mine, entirely mine. But she said... What she said and what I agreed to are different things. Kevin's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, dawning rage. Scott shifted uncomfortably behind him. The other two men exchanged glances, clearly wanting to be anywhere else. My mind drifted back 1 week. Jennifer had visited my apartment on a Tuesday afternoon. We'd sat at my small kitchen table, drinking coffee. She'd stirred hers endlessly, not meeting my eyes. The conversation had seemed casual at first. Dad, I've been thinking. She'd set down her spoon with precise care. Since you're buying this place with money from the family, wouldn't it be fair to put my name on the deed too? Just in case something happens to you. I'd lowered my cup slowly. Why would something happen to me? Just... She'd waved her hand vaguely. You're getting older. It simplifies inheritance. There it was. Not love. Not concern. Strategy. Ice had slid down my spine. I'd smiled, nodded vaguely, said I'd think about it. That night I'd called my financial advisor, restructured everything to be ironclad. Jennifer's casual suggestion had shown me the blade before it struck. Kevin's voice yanked me back to the present. He'd pulled out his phone, was dialing. Past 4 a.m, but he didn't care. Jennifer, he didn't sign anything. The villa's still his. I could hear her voice through the speaker, high-pitched and panicked. That's impossible. He promised nothing. We look like idiots. Well, whose idea was it to show up drunk at 3 a.m.? Kevin's face reddened. Your intelligence was wrong. You said he'd cooperate. I said he was considering it. You decided to rush in like what? Like we had an agreement? Their argument escalated. Scott and the others shifted uncomfortably, realizing they'd walked into family disaster, not simple takeover. I let them argue, let them expose themselves fully. Then I spoke, cutting through their chaos. You have 24 hours. Kevin spun toward me. 24 hours for what? I gestured toward the door. To leave my property and never return. After that, I called the police. Trespassing charges. Breaking and entering. Attempted coercion. Your choice. Kevin's flush deepened. You can't do this. We'll sue. Jennifer will sue. You're too old to manage this place anyway. We'll prove you're incompetent. My smile felt thin, sharp against my teeth. Try it. I have 40 years of financial records proving competence. What do you have? Entitlement? Kevin took a step closer, aggressive posture returning. We'll find a way, old man. Lawyers, doctors, whatever it takes. You think you can just cut out your own daughter? I didn't flinch. I'm not cutting her out. She cut herself out when she decided I was a bank account instead of a father. The words hit like a slap. Kevin's mouth opened, closed. For a moment he had no response. Scott muttered from the doorway, Man, let's just go. This is done. They retreated. Kevin paused at the threshold, tried to rally one last time. This isn't over. It is for tonight, I said quietly. Don't come back. The door closed behind them. I stood alone in my study, documents still spread across the desk. Dawn light strengthened through the windows, painting everything gold and cold. I walked to the window, watched their car lights disappear down the coastal road. The sound of the engine faded into morning silence. Relief and awareness warred in my chest. This was just beginning. I gathered the documents, placed them back in the leather folder. My phone buzzed against the desk. Jennifer's name glowed on the screen. 1 ring, 2, 3, 4. I didn't answer. The buzzing stopped. Silence returned. I set the phone down and spoke aloud to the empty room. Now it begins. My hand reached for the desk drawer, pulled it open. Inside lay a business card I'd placed there yesterday, anticipating exactly this moment. Rebecca Young, attorney at law, estate planning and elder law. I picked up the card, turned it over in my fingers. The weight of what came next settled over me. Tomorrow I would make the call. Tonight I needed to think. I left the study, walked through my villa as sunrise filled every room with light. This place was mine. I'd earned it, and I would defend it with everything I had. The next day, late morning, I sat in a downtown law office waiting room, dressed formally, button-down shirt, pressed slacks. The business card from last night was back in my wallet. Professional surroundings, muted colors, legal magazines, receptionist typing quietly. "Mr. Taylor, Ms. Young will see you now." I rose, carrying my leather folder, followed her down a short hallway. Rebecca Young's office was modest but professional. Law books lined the walls. Framed diplomas hung beside the window, overlooking downtown traffic. She stood when I entered, early 40s, sharp eyes, firm handshake. "Mr. Taylor, please sit." I settled into the chair across from her desk, set the folder between us. "Tell me what's happening," she said, pen poised over a legal pad. I explained. The villa purchase. Jennifer's suggestion, Kevin's 3 a.m. invasion, the threats. She listened without interrupting, took occasional notes. When I finished, she set down her pen. "My retainer is $350 per hour. Estate law can get expensive. I'll pay it." My voice came out flat, certain. "I didn't work 40 years to be cheated by family." She nodded. "You mentioned possible legal action from them. They're claiming I'm not competent to own property." Her eyebrows rose fractionally. "Based on what evidence?" "Based on wanting my money." A brief smile crossed her face. "I'll need all your documentation. Property deed, financial records, any communications with your daughter or son-in-law?" I slid the folder across her desk. She reviewed quickly, efficiently, flipping through pages with practiced speed. "This is solid. You're clearly competent. But if they sue?" She looked up. "We'll need to build a defense. Build whatever you need. I'll start today." I left her office feeling something like control returning. A professional ally. Someone who understood the battlefield. 2 hours later, I pulled into my villa driveway. As I shifted into park, my phone rang. Rebecca Young. "Mr. Taylor, we have a problem." Ice formed in my stomach. "What kind of problem?" "Your daughter and son-in-law filed a petition this morning. They're seeking conservatorship, claiming you lack capacity to manage finances due to age." Silence. My knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "They're calling me incompetent." "The petition claims you made an impulsive, irrational purchase." Rebecca's voice stayed steady, professional. "The hearing is set for next week. This is serious. If they win, they'd control your assets, including the villa." Rage cut through shock, hot and sharp. Not just greed. Complete annihilation of my autonomy. "Mr. Taylor, I'm here." My jaw ached from clenching. "What do we do?" "We fight it. I'll need medical records showing cognitive health, financial records proving sound judgment, character witnesses. This is winnable, but we need to move fast." "You'll have everything by tomorrow." I ended the call, sat staring at the ocean through my windshield. Waves crashed rhythmically, indifferent to human betrayal. Defense wasn't enough anymore. They'd declared total war. Every sacrifice for Jennifer's childhood flooded back. Music lessons, college tuition, her wedding that cost me $20,000. This was her gratitude. The hurt beneath my anger threatened to surface. I crushed it down. I would not be a victim. I would strike back. I grabbed my laptop from the passenger seat, carried it inside, set it on the kitchen table. Time to investigate. Kevin Harris, real estate agent, business licenses, court records. I started with public databases, worked through property transactions, tax records. Hours passed. Coffee grew cold beside me. Then I found it. Tax liens. Multiple properties with unpaid taxes. Kevin owed $45,000 to the state. How did a supposedly successful agent accumulate such debt? I dug deeper. Foreclosure notices, dismissed lawsuits, complaints filed with the Real Estate Licensing Board. Kevin's business was barely surviving, held together with borrowed money and false confidence. Suddenly, the villa grab made perfect sense. Not just greed, desperation. Kevin needed the villa to save himself financially. The property was his lifeline. I leaned back, mind racing. This weakness was exploitable. Late afternoon, I needed air. The laptop had given me a headache. The villa walls felt too close. I walked down to the beach, shoes crunching on sand. Ocean wind cleared my head immediately. Salt air, seagull cries, the endless rhythm of waves. I walked along the waterline, letting it all settle. An older woman stood near the surf, tossing bread to gulls. Silver hair, simple dress, peaceful expression. Something about her solitude felt familiar. I approached. "Beautiful evening," she turned, smiled. "It is? First time here?" "Just moved into the villa up the cliff." "Welcome, then. I'm Diana. Diana Clark. 2 houses down from yours." "Arnold Taylor." We shook hands. Her grip was firm. "Recent retiree?" she asked. "Very recent. You?" 5 years now. Moved here from Seattle. Best decision I made." "What did you do there?" "Law practice. Corporate litigation, mostly." Something in her tone suggested painful history. "And a family that forgot I was more than a checkbook." The words hit me squarely. I must have reacted because she noticed. "Trouble with the move?" she asked gently. I deflected. "Just adjusting. Family complications." She nodded knowingly. "I'm familiar with those. If you need someone who understands. Well, I'm usually here around sunset." "I might take you up on that." We parted naturally. I continued my walk, her words echoing. Another person who'd survived family betrayal. Maybe survival was possible after all. I returned as the sun set, climbing the stairs to my villa. Diana's words still resonated. Inside, my laptop sat on the kitchen table. Screen dark. I approached it, woke it up. The tax line document for Kevin Harris glowed, 45,000 in red numbers. My finger hovered over the trackpad. Then I opened my email, began a new message. The recipient field stayed empty, but the subject line read, "Financial irregularities. Kevin Harris, real estate license, number 8473992. I began typing the body of the email, documenting everything I'd found. The cursor blinked, waiting. August 19th. Morning fog rolled off the ocean, gray and thick. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee cooling beside my laptop. The email was complete, addressed to the IRS tip line. My cursor hovered over Send. I clicked. The email disappeared from my screen. First strike launched. I documented everything methodically. Kevin's tax lanes, properties with unpaid taxes, suspicious real estate transactions where commission reports didn't match income declarations. All public record, all damning. The IRS takes anonymous tips seriously when they're this thorough. My 40 years in financial consulting taught me exactly what triggers an audit. Kevin's entire business would open for examination. I felt no guilt. He'd tried to steal my home. This was justice. My mind drifted back 5 days to August 14th, the day before I moved into this villa, the day before everything erupted. I'd driven to downtown Portland that morning, meeting Brian Carter in his small office. My financial advisor had recommended him, a notary and estate planner with expertise in asset protection. "I'm buying valuable property," I'd explained. "My daughter's been making comments about inheritance, about fairness. I need protection." Brian had listened carefully, then leaned forward. "Irrevocable trust. You're the beneficiary for life, but no one can force sale or transfer. Even if someone claims I'm incompetent, especially then, creating this proves competence. It's self-protecting. Let's do it. Today." We'd spent 3 hours drafting documents, signing papers, filing the trust structure. The villa would be mine during my lifetime, transferring to charity upon death unless I modified it. No one could claim it. Not even a conservatorship could touch it. That same afternoon, I'd met with a security installation company. The technician had looked at my request curiously. "You want cameras on all entrances? That's pretty thorough. I'm expecting unwanted visitors." "Family? How did you know?" He'd smiled grimly. "Sir, I've been in this business 20 years. It's always family." We'd installed cameras everywhere. Front door, back entrance, driveway, all feeding to cloud storage. When Kevin and his friends arrived at 3 in the morning 2 days later, every word, every threat, every aggressive gesture was recorded. I'd known something would happen. Jennifer's cold phone call about the purchase, her suspicious questions about documentation, the signs were clear to someone who'd spent decades reading financial behavior. I'd prepared the trap before they knew they were walking into it. My phone rang, yanking me back to the present. Rebecca Young. Mr. Taylor, I've reviewed the trust documents your notary sent over. This is exceptional work. Relief washed through me. It'll help with the conservatorship case. Help? It destroys their case. You can't be deemed incompetent for creating such sophisticated legal protection. It proves competence. I allowed myself a small smile. Rebecca continued, her tone shifting slightly. Also, I heard through court channels that the IRS opened an investigation into your son-in-law. You wouldn't know anything about that? My voice stayed carefully neutral. I know he has tax problems. Public record. A pause. Then, of course, public record. Convenient timing. She understood exactly what I'd done. Professional respect colored her tone. Late afternoon, I walked down to the beach. Diana was there, same spot as before, watching gulls wheel overhead. How are your family complications? She asked as I approached. Something about her made me feel safe. I shared more than I'd intended. The lawsuit, the conservatorship claim, my countermeasures. Diana listened without judgment. Then she spoke quietly. 3 years ago, my son claimed I was showing signs of dementia. Tried to get power of attorney over my assets. Her voice hardened. He'd been forging my signature on checks. I stopped walking. What did you do? I fought back, exposed him, cut him off completely. She met my eyes. Family ties don't excuse theft. They tried to erase your autonomy. She's still my daughter. And you're still her father. That's why it hurts. But it doesn't make you wrong. When does it stop hurting? Diana bent down, picked up a piece of driftwood, turned it over in her hands. Weathered, scarred, but intact. When you accept that you saved yourself, that's worth celebrating. We walked in silence for a while. The ocean rhythm steadied something inside me. As twilight deepened, Diana paused at the path to her house. Would you like to have dinner sometime? As friends who understand each other? I hesitated, not from disinterest, but from the strangeness of connection after such betrayal. Then I nodded. I'd like that. Friday evening? Friday works. Diana smiled and headed up her path. I climbed my porch steps, unlocked my door. Inside, my phone was ringing. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Mr. Taylor, this is Agent Martinez with the IRS. I have some questions about a tip we received regarding Kevin Harris. My hand tightened on the phone. It was working. August 21st, I was making breakfast when my phone rang. Marcus Reed, an old friend from my consulting days. Arnold, I got a strange call yesterday, from Jennifer. His voice carried uncertainty. She said you're having memory problems, making irrational decisions. I told her that was nonsense, but is everything all right? My stomach dropped. Marcus, I'm fine. Jennifer wants my property. When I refused, she sued me. That's hard to believe. Your own daughter? I have the court documents. After he hung up, another call came. Sarah Chen, former colleague. Same concerned questions. Same story from Jennifer. By noon, I'd received 7 calls. Old colleagues, distant relatives, even my accountant, all asking if I was experiencing cognitive decline. Jennifer had painted a picture: sudden irrational property purchase, paranoid accusations against family, erratic behavior. Some callers were skeptical. Others sounded genuinely worried. I explained the truth to each one, that Jennifer and Kevin tried to steal my property, that I was defending myself legally. Most believed me, but the damage was done. Even those who trusted me now viewed the situation through a lens of declining old man versus concerned daughter. I felt exhausted, violated. They were destroying my reputation to win their legal case. Mid-morning, I walked down to Diana's house. She answered immediately, saw my face, invited me in without questions. Over coffee at her kitchen table, I explained the reputation attack. Diana's expression hardened. My son did the same thing. Told everyone I was confused, needed help. It's a classic tactic. Isolate the victim, make them doubt themselves. Some people believe her. I can hear it in their voices. Diana reached across the table, squeezed my hand briefly. The truth is documentation, not gossip. You have legal records, medical records, financial records. They have rumors. You'll win. Her certainty steadied me. That afternoon, Diana called urgently. Arnold, there's a man watching your house. Car parked down the street. Binoculars. I walked to my window, peered out cautiously. You're sure? I talked to him. He was vague, but mentioned gathering information for a legal case. Kevin had hired a private investigator. Diana gave me the license plate. I thanked her, immediately called Rebecca. She was unsurprised. They're desperate. The conservatorship case is weak. They know it. Now they're hoping for anything, a compromising photo, evidence of erratic behavior. I don't have anything to hide. Then stay boring for 4 more days. The hearing is August 25th. If they have nothing by then, they lose. 4 days. I could endure 4 days. But that evening, sitting on my deck watching sunset, I realized something. Kevin and Jennifer were cornered animals now. The IRS investigation, the failing lawsuit, desperation drove increasingly reckless actions. They'd escalate. I needed to move faster, strike harder before they manufactured evidence. The private investigator worried me not because I had secrets, but because desperate people create false narratives. I pulled out my phone, began researching. Kevin's real estate license status. If he owed $45,000 in taxes, if the IRS was auditing him, the Oregon Real Estate Agency might be interested. Professional licenses require ethical standards. Tax fraud violates those standards. I drafted another anonymous tip, this time to the state licensing board. Detailed Kevin's tax liens, the IRS investigation, questions about his financial practices. I sent it. 2 strikes now. The pressure built. My phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. Stop interfering. Drop the lawsuit. Last warning. I stared at the screen. The threat was clear. I screenshot the message, forwarded it to Rebecca with a note. Evidence of harassment? Her reply came quickly. Yes. Save everything. They're panicking. I set my phone down, walked to my window. Diana's house showed warm lights in the twilight. The investigator's car was gone, for now. I moved to my home security panel, checked that all cameras were recording properly. They were, documented, prepared, protected. But I was in a war now, not just a legal dispute. I returned to my desk, opened my laptop. There was more research to do. Kevin's business licenses, Jennifer's employment, any other pressure points. I hunched over the computer in gathering darkness, hunting for weaknesses. Isolated, but determined. Hurt, but not defeated. August 23rd. Morning light filtered through my windows, but I'd barely noticed dawn arrive. 3rd cup of coffee sat empty beside my laptop. I'd been researching all night. Eyes burning, but I'd found something. Kevin Harris took out a personal loan 6 months ago. $120,000 from Pacific Northwest Bank. The loan application appeared in public court records from an unrelated civil case. I recognized the pattern immediately, my financial consultant instincts still sharp. Kevin had borrowed against expected future income, but what future income? I dug deeper. The loan document mentioned anticipated inheritance proceeds as collateral justification. My blood ran cold. Kevin told the bank he was about to inherit significant assets from his father-in-law. The timeline matched. The loan was approved in February, right before I started seriously discussing the villa purchase with Jennifer. They'd planned this for months. Kevin borrowed money he didn't have, gambling he could force me to gift them property or die and leave it to Jennifer. The audacity was breathtaking. The stupidity, even more so. I immediately called Rebecca. He borrowed $120,000, claiming he'd inherit from me. I never promised that. Her response was swift. That's loan fraud if he misrepresented collateral. We can destroy him with this. I want a formal declaration. I'm leaving nothing to Jennifer or Kevin. That'll trigger default. The bank will demand immediate repayment. Good. Let him feel what desperation actually means. Within hours, Rebecca drafted the declaration, notarized it, filed it with the court, and sent copies to Pacific Northwest Bank. By late afternoon, she called with an update. The bank called the loan, 30 days to repay or face collections. Can he pay it? Not with his tax debt. He's drowning. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. You shouldn't feel bad, Rebecca said, reading my silence. He tried to profit from your death. That's not family. That's predation. Early evening, my phone rang. Jennifer. I considered ignoring it, then answered. She was crying. Or performing crying. I couldn't tell anymore. Dad, please. Kevin's in trouble. The bank wants everything. My voice came out cold, measured. You sued me, called me incompetent, spread lies. These are consequences. Her tone shifted to anger. You're destroying us. Your own daughter. What kind of daughter tries to steal from her father? Silence. We needed that money. Then earn it. I did. Goodbye, Jennifer. I hung up. My hands shook, not from fear, but from the effort of maintaining control. That night, I drove to Diana's house for the dinner we'd planned. I needed the distraction from the day's emotional toll. Diana had prepared a simple meal. Grilled fish, salad, wine on her back deck overlooking the ocean. We ate, talked. I shared what happened with the loan, Jennifer's call. Diana listened, then reached across the table, took my hand. You're doing what you have to do. Protecting yourself isn't cruelty. Her touch was warm, steady. I realized I hadn't felt this kind of connection since Sarah died 5 years ago. Not romantic necessarily, but the potential for it. How do you feel? Diana asked. After everything today? Tired, angry, vindicated, guilty for not feeling guiltier. She tried to erase you. You're defending yourself. She's still my daughter. Part of me wants to forgive her. Forgiveness requires acknowledgement of harm. Has she acknowledged anything? I thought about Jennifer's call. No, just complained about consequences. Then you have your answer. We watched the sunset together. Diana leaned her head on my shoulder briefly. I let myself feel something other than anger for the first time in weeks. Hope, maybe, or at least the possibility of moving forward. Thank you, I said quietly, for understanding, for being here. I know what it's like to fight family, to feel alone in that fight. You're not alone anymore. Neither am I. Diana smiled. No, we're not. Later, driving home, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Then my phone buzzed. Text from Rebecca. Hearing scheduled for day after tomorrow. 9 a.m. County Courthouse. This is it? I pulled into my driveway, stared at the message. The conservatorship hearing. The final battle. I was prepared. Trust documents, medical records, financial proof, security video, evidence of Jennifer's manipulation. But court was unpredictable. What if the judge believed their narrative despite evidence? I looked up at my villa, the home I'd bought with 40 years of work. I typed back, I'll be there. Let's finish this. I walked to my door. The night air was cold off the ocean. The hearing was 48 hours away. August 25th. I stood before my bathroom mirror, adjusting my tie. 3 hours of sleep, maybe. Spent mostly reviewing documents, running through potential questions. The hearing was in 90 minutes. Navy suit, white shirt, conservative tie. I needed to embody competence, sanity, capability. My reflection looked older than I remembered. Stress ages everyone. But my eyes were clear, focused. I gathered my documents, checked my phone. Diana, you've got this. Call me after. Rebecca, meet me at courthouse entrance, 8:30 a.m. I responded to both, then drove downtown. Rebecca waited outside the courthouse at exactly 8:30. Brian Carter stood beside her, the notary who'd created my trust. He'd testify about my mental competence during our meeting. They'll paint you as confused, impulsive, Rebecca said. We counter with documentation. Trust structure proves planning. Medical records prove health. Security footage proves they're the aggressors. I nodded. We entered the building, through security, up to the 3rd floor. Jennifer and Kevin were already in the waiting area with their lawyer, slick-looking man in an expensive suit. Kevin glared at me. I held his gaze for 3 seconds, then deliberately turned away. Jennifer looked away, face pale. The hearing began. Judge Patricia Morrison presiding, late 50s, stern expression, no-nonsense demeanor. Kevin and Jennifer's lawyer presented first. Your Honor, we're deeply concerned about Mr. Taylor's recent behavior. At age 62, he made an impulsive $890,000 property purchase without consulting family. He's become paranoid, aggressive. We believe he lacks capacity to manage his affairs. Rebecca countered with precision. She presented the trust documents, created after thorough consultation with a licensed notary. Medical evaluation from my doctor dated 1 week ago. Patient shows no signs of cognitive decline. Financial records spanning 40 years. Consistent, methodical, exemplary. Then the security footage. Kevin and 3 men at 3 in the morning demanding I vacate, making threats. The judge watched, expression darkening. Rebecca introduced evidence of Kevin's $45,000 in tax debt, the $120,000 loan obtained under false pretenses, the IRS investigation. Your Honor, this isn't about concern for Mr. Taylor's well-being. This is about financial desperation and attempted theft. The opposing lawyer objected. Irrelevant to competency. Judge Morrison overruled. It's relevant to motive. Overruled. Brian Carter testified. Mr. Taylor understood every aspect of the trust structure. He asked intelligent questions, demonstrated full awareness. I saw no signs of impairment. The judge asked me directly, Mr. Taylor, why did you purchase this property? My response came calm, clear. I worked 40 years for that home, saved methodically. It's my retirement dream, earned through legitimate work. Your daughter claims you're cutting her out unfairly. I'm protecting what I earned from people who tried to take it without earning it. Judge Morrison didn't hesitate. Petition denied. Mr. Taylor has demonstrated clear competence through sophisticated estate planning, maintained financial health, and legitimate reasons for his actions. The petitioners have demonstrated financial motivation that undermines their credibility. She continued. Furthermore, the security footage shows attempted coercion. Mr. Taylor, you're entitled to file for a restraining order if you wish. Then the final blow. Petitioners will pay Mr. Taylor's legal fees. I'm awarding $18,000 in costs. Kevin's face went crimson. Jennifer started crying. Real tears now. I felt vindication, sharp and clean. Outside the courthouse, I walked toward my car with Rebecca and Brian. Behind us, rapid footsteps. Kevin charged, fist raised, shouting, You destroyed everything! Courthouse security tackled him before he reached me. Cameras everywhere captured it. Rebecca immediately moved. We need a restraining order, now. Within the hour, a temporary order was issued. Kevin couldn't come within 500 feet of me. Jennifer appeared, sobbing. Dad, please, I'm sorry. Forgive us. But I heard the manipulation. She was sorry they lost, not sorry for what they'd done. Are you sorry you hurt me? Or sorry it didn't work? Her face hardened. She turned away. I watched her go, felt the final thread snap. Driving away, restraining order paperwork on my passenger seat, I called Diana. It's over. I won. Her voice was warm with relief. Come over. We'll celebrate. I agreed, but as I turned onto the coastal highway, my phone buzzed. Email from Rebecca. IRS completed initial review. Kevin owes $67,000 in back taxes, penalties, interest. They're moving to seize assets. Thought you'd want to know. I stared at it, at a red light. I'd won in court. Kevin's financial life was collapsing. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt empty. The victory was complete. But the cost, my relationship with Jennifer, was permanent. Diana's back deck, evening of August 25th. I sat with wine untouched beside me. She waited patiently across the table. I'd been silent for 10 minutes since arriving. Finally, I spoke. I won. Completely. The judge ruled in my favor. Kevin's being investigated by the IRS. Their reputation is destroyed. So why do I feel like this? Like what? Diana asked gently. Empty. I thought victory would feel different. She nodded with understanding. Because winning doesn't erase what made the fight necessary. The next 2 days, I struggled with the hollowness. I'd protected my property, exposed their greed, won in court, but I'd also permanently lost my daughter. That realization settled gradually. Jennifer wasn't temporarily estranged. She was gone. I spent hours walking the beach alone, thinking. Diana gave me space but remained available. Winning the battle didn't erase the pain of why the battle was necessary. My daughter had tried to erase my autonomy, steal my life's work, destroy my reputation. That betrayal couldn't be undone by a court ruling. On August 27th morning, I called Rebecca with a decision. I want to change my will. Everything goes to charity. The Oregon Coast Conservation Fund and the Alzheimer's Association. Nothing to Jennifer. Rebecca was quiet. Are you sure? That's permanent. She wanted my death to enrich her. I'm ensuring my death enriches people who need it. I'll draft it. Also, I want Diana Clark included. If she survives me and agrees, she gets the villa. She's earned more trust in 2 weeks than Jennifer earned in 35 years. By afternoon, I signed the new will with Brian Carter as witness. It felt like closing a door. Painful, but necessary. That evening, I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, began typing a letter to Jennifer. Not angry. I'd moved beyond anger. Explanatory. Jennifer, I've changed my will. You'll inherit nothing from me. This isn't punishment. It's protection. You saw me as a resource, not a person. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You spread lies about my mental health. These actions revealed what I mean to you. A bank account. I continued typing. Love doesn't demand inheritance. Love doesn't require someone's death to benefit. Real love celebrates their life. I loved you as a father. I provided everything you needed and most of what you wanted. But I won't let you erase my autonomy or steal my dignity. If you ever genuinely change, not because you want money, but because you understand what you did wrong, contact me. Until then, goodbye. I read it 3 times, then sent it. The moment the email left my outbox, something released. Through Rebecca's contacts and Diana's observations, I learned how thoroughly Kevin and Jennifer's life had unraveled. Kevin's real estate license was under ethics review. His business effectively ended. No one trusts an agent who can't manage his own finances. Jennifer lost her administrative job. Her employer worried about liability after learning about the conservatorship attempt. Their reputation in Cannon Beach's small community was destroyed. The story spread. They tried to steal from her elderly father, claimed he was incompetent, lost spectacularly in court. I felt no satisfaction in their suffering, but I didn't feel guilt either. They created this outcome through their choices. What I didn't know, Jennifer sat in their small rental apartment. They'd lost their house, couldn't afford the mortgage, laptop open, composing her own letter. For the first time, she wasn't calculating maximum effect. She was genuinely confronting what she'd done. Dad, I destroyed everything. Not you, me. Kevin and I saw you as money, not a person. We convinced ourselves we deserved your property because we were family. We were wrong, grotesquely wrong. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just need you to know. I finally understand. I'm sorry. She read it, cried real tears, but she didn't send it. Not yet. She needed to prove change through actions, not words. The letter sat in her drafts folder. Late evening of August 27th, I sat on my deck watching the ocean under moonlight. My phone beside me, waiting to see if Jennifer would respond to my email, though I knew she likely wouldn't tonight. Diana was inside, making tea. I reflected. 40 years of work protected, my autonomy defended, my dignity preserved. But also, my daughter lost, possibly forever. I wondered if she'd ever understand what she did, if she'd ever genuinely change. Diana emerged with 2 teacups, handed me one, sat beside me. What are you thinking? I considered. That I won the war but lost something irreplaceable in the process. Diana took my hand. Sometimes that's the price of survival. The question is, what do you do next? I squeezed her hand. Good question. August 29th morning, I woke in my villa bedroom, sunlight streaming through ocean-facing windows. For the first time in 2 weeks, I'd slept through the night. No anxiety dreams. No jolting awake at 3, remembering Kevin's invasion. I lay there, listening to seagulls and waves, feeling something unfamiliar. Peace. Not happiness yet, but the absence of constant threat. I rose, made coffee, walked onto my deck. The ocean stretched endlessly blue and calm. My phone showed a notification, an email received overnight. From Jennifer. My stomach tightened reflexively, but I didn't open it immediately. Whatever it said could wait until I was ready. I spent the morning doing ordinary things, drinking coffee, reading news, watering the small garden I'd started it on my deck, deliberately normal activities, reclaiming routine after weeks of battle. I thought about what I'd accomplished, property protected through trust structure, legal victory in court, antagonist schemes exposed and defeated. But more importantly, what I'd learned, that family doesn't excuse abuse. that love without respect is manipulation, that protecting yourself isn't cruelty. I also thought about Diana, how she appeared exactly when I needed someone who understood, how our connection grew from shared trauma into something deeper, not ready to call it love yet, but moving that direction. Mid-morning, Diana walked over. I saw her approaching from my deck, waved. She brought fresh pastries from the local bakery. We sat together, eating, talking about the future rather than the past. "I've been thinking about traveling," Diana said. "I haven't left Cannon Beach much since moving here." I surprised myself. "We could travel together. I spent 40 years working toward retirement. Maybe it's time I actually retire. Enjoy it, instead of defending it." Diana smiled. "Where would we go?" We discussed possibilities. Northern California redwoods. Seattle. Maybe even Alaska. The conversation was light, hopeful. This is what I fought for, I realized. Not just the villa, but the freedom to enjoy the life I built. After Diana left to run errands, we agreed to meet for dinner. I finally opened Jennifer's email. It was long, detailed, raw. She apologized without qualification. "I was wrong. I saw you as money, not as a person. I destroyed our relationship through greed and entitlement. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just need you to know I finally understand what I did." She didn't ask for anything. No money, no reconciliation, just acknowledgement that she comprehended her mistakes. It might take years before I can prove I've changed. Maybe decades. Maybe never. But I want to try. If you ever decide there's space for me in your life again, I'll be here. Not as your heir, as your daughter who finally grew up. I read it 3 times. The letter felt different from her courthouse tears. No manipulation, no performance, just pain and recognition. I didn't respond immediately. I walked the beach, thinking. Part of me wanted to believe she'd changed. Part of me knew 2 weeks wasn't enough time for genuine transformation. I returned home, sat at my desk, composed a careful reply. "Jennifer, I received your letter. I appreciate that you understand what you did wrong. Understanding is the first step, but understanding alone doesn't rebuild trust. That requires time, consistent change behavior, and proof that this isn't temporary remorse, but permanent growth," I continued. "I'm not saying never. I'm saying not now. If you're serious about change, show it through how you live your life over the next year, 2 years, 5 years. Become someone who respects others' autonomy. Then perhaps we can talk." I ended. "I hope you find peace with yourself. I found mine." I sent it. Not forgiveness, but not permanent exile either. Bounded hope. A door left open, but she had to prove she deserved to walk through it. Evening arrived. Diana came over for dinner. She was cooking this time in my kitchen. We worked together. She prepared salmon. I made salad. We laughed when the timer went off, and we both rushed to the oven simultaneously. "We need better kitchen coordination," Diana said. "We'll get there. We have time." We ate on the deck as the sun began setting. I shared that I'd responded to Jennifer's letter, explained what I'd said. Diana listened, then nodded. "That's fair. She needs to earn her way back." I took Diana's hand. I spent 40 years building this life so someone else could try taking it in one night. But I learned something. Real wealth isn't houses or money. It's people who value you for who you are, not what you have. Diana squeezed my hand. Wise man. I won this battle not by destroying them, but by refusing to let them destroy me. That's the victory I'm keeping. We watched the sun sink into the Pacific, painting the sky orange and gold. I felt something I hadn't felt since Sarah died. Contentment. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of genuine possibility. Whatever came next, travel, deeper relationship with Diana, perhaps eventual reconciliation with Jennifer if she proved herself, I'd face it as someone who knew his worth and refused to compromise it. Diana leaned her head on my shoulder. I closed my eyes, felt the ocean breeze, heard the waves. I fought for this peace. I earned this contentment. I protected my dignity against those who tried to erase it. That's the victory that matters. I spoke softly. This is what I fought for. Not the house, this moment, this peace. Diana squeezed my hand in agreement. The sun touched the horizon and we watched it together. If you like this story, Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.